Hey, good afternoon. This is Doug Banfelder reporting from the MCIA Cannabis Summit, 6th annual in San Jose, and I'm here right now with the California Cannabis Industry Association lobbyist, Eddie Franco, for lack of a better term.
Legislative liaison. I work alongside our senior policy director who does most of our lobbying. I'm in the building a lot too.
You're the guy that's on the ground.
Absolutely.
You're in front of the firing squad.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. Absolutely.
I've dinked around in politics a little bit, so I have a great appreciation for what you do, Eddie.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So if you would, just recap for us a couple of recent successes, and then I'll ask you about your challenges next.
Absolutely, yeah, happy to. So for folks who may not be aware, the legislative calendar is now on recess, which means that the legislature here in California left for break on July 12th. That's been a good time for us as an association to really reflect and see where things are standing right now. A few that I want to highlight that I think are looking pretty good, let me find a piece of wood to knock on, is first off AB 1529. There's a bit of a weird quirk in the manufacturing regulations right now that actually require the universal symbol that is put on cannabis packaging, which is at a 0.5 by 0.5 inch size requirement, to be put on cannabis vaporizer cartridges.
So do me a favor, how big is 0.5 by 0.5?
0.5, estimating it would probably about yay big, which is fine for a package.
Thumbnail maybe?
Probably about a thumbnail, a little bigger.
Okay.
That's fine for a package on a box, that's fine for even if you have a jar of flour. However,
sure.
I'm sure you're familiar with the size of the cannabis vaporizer cartridges. Those are pretty skinny little devices.
Yes, sir.
So the sticker is really not tenable for that sort of device.
Right.
However, the regulations interpret the vaporizer to also be considered a part of the packaging.
Okay.
So we learned that essentially our members who are manufacturers would have to be hand stickering these 0.5 by 0.5 stickers onto the cartridge.
Hand stickering every single
one. We have a member, Cannacraft, that produces about 1.5 to 2 million cartridges a month. Those would all have to be hand stickered under this regulation.
Obviously absurd, and how do you stay in compliance with something like that? Right.
Exactly. Not to mention that from a consumer standpoint, that sticker is just far too big. That covers a lot of the oil that's in there, doesn't leave a lot of room to label.
My cartridges, I like to see how much oil is left.
Exactly, and not to mention you like to see what kind of strain that is or what the ratio is. That big of a label doesn't leave a lot of room for that. So AB 1529 is a late gut amend by Assemblymember Lowe. Our senior policy director, Amy Jenkins, worked very, very hard with Assemblymember Lowe to try to bring this to his attention and get the legislature to really bring this up. What the bill does is it says that the universal symbol can be 0.25 by 0.25 inches, so about half of a thumbnail, as it applies to vaporizer cartridges only. So a simple fix for what seems to be a simple issue, but would have major ramifications.
It's a huge issue
going
for
forward.
Sure,
Absolutely. That bill made it out of the Senate Business and Professions Committee with flying colors the week before the legislature broke. All indication is that should be heard on the Senate floor the first week coming back. It has an urgency clause, which means that the moment the governor signs that bill, it is law. Our best bet is that we should be seeing that for an implementation of late August to early September if things really don't move forward. But should be a pretty expeditious fix for what is kind of a weird problem facing the industry right now from a manufacturing perspective.
All right, so we're about 60 days out from what looks to be the correct solution to this problem.
Yeah,
very good. Well, thank you for your work on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a similar bill that I wanted to highlight that seems to be really making its way through and good to be out by late August, early September would be AB 1417 by Assemblymember Blanca Rubio. And this does get a bit into what we were talking about with the challenges. A big challenge for us this year has been enforcement. As all folks in this conference are really aware, the illicit market is the #1 burden and competitor to the compliant industry right now.
Frankly, it seems like it's not been slowed down much by legalization
It is not. In fact, I would argue it's been stronger than ever. And we have had a lot of efforts throughout the year to try to really crack down on specifically illicit operations, try to give some of our compliant folks a bit of some breathing room and make sure that the state is making that a focus. Unfortunately, we saw that some of the bills that were looking to do that, AB 1356 by Assemblymember Ting, the budget ask that was going through for increased enforcement dollars, unfortunately have not made their way through the legislature this year. But there is a bill, AB 1417, that is doing at least a bit of relief against the illicit market. What this specifically says is that any application or website that is advertising illicit cannabis has specific violations that are put against them for advertising that cannabis. It specifically says it's a $10,000 violation per day per violation if a advertising website, application, entity knowingly posts an illicit operation without a license number or a false license number.
Well, they're promoting an illegal business.
Right.
And you know, in society, we typically do frown on that and regulate against it.
Right.
So this is totally in line with what happens in every other industry.
Absolutely. And something I do want to make clear is there was a bit of worry early on about what this might mean for small advertisers, newspapers, etc., that might not be familiar with this new industry.
If I'm a small town, local daily paper, weekly paper.
Exactly. We worked with the author and some of the stakeholders on some late amendments that came through, I want to say a few weeks ago, that make clear if an advertiser in good faith makes an effort to try to validate that and there was just a minor error, that's not the full violation. It's really a case-by-case basis. What this is trying to get at is those entities that we're all aware of that are knowingly advertising illicit cannabis.
That's part of their business model.
Exactly, exactly. And that's been a major issue from a consumer end. I mean, it's really hard for them to be able to tell what is and isn't illicit, especially in certain jurisdictions.
No, and if I'm a consumer, I know I want to buy a regulated product that's been tested.
Right.
And so
CCIA has been in very strong support of that bill. Has been making its way through the legislature with bipartisan support. Another one we like to see passed in late August or early September.
So that one's on the come, and it looks like it should happen.
Looks like it should. Yeah. With all indication that should be making it through.
And Governor Newsom is fully on board with. I mean, if you send him a good bill that provides helpful regulation for our legal industry, that he's going to sign it.
Absolutely, and I think that is a really good transition into the next bill that I did want to talk about, which is SB 34. This is the Compassionate Care Bill by Senator Wiener, and I wanted you bringing up Governor Newsom, I think, is a pretty apt topic for this particular bill. This Compassionate Care Bill actually made its way through the legislature last year with bipartisan support and was vetoed by Governor Brown. Now, what this bill essentially does is reinstates compassionate care programs in the state. These are programs that donate cannabis to low-income medicinal patients who are dealing with HIV/AIDS, cancer, veterans with PTSD.
So these are all very much in the intent. And what actually did occur under 215.
Under 215, and really, if you just look at the beginnings of the movement in the state and the culture for the cannabis movement, it really started with this low-income medicinal relief. And that's what this bill is looking to do, because under the Prop 64 framework, unfortunately, all donated cannabis still has to be paid for under a tax, which means that these compassionate care programs have been having a lot of trouble staying afloat.
So they're asking right now under the rules, if I'm a dispensary, let's say, and I want to gift some product to somebody, I give it away and I have to pay the tax on it.
Absolutely.
And so you're out.
Right, and that's not really encouraging a lot of these compassionate programs to stay afloat.
It's penalizing somebody for their compassion.
You're getting at what this bill is trying to address. So SB 34 reinstates these compassion programs by allowing a form of cannabis to be, or a legal framework for cannabis to be donated to nonprofits. Has been flying through with bipartisan support again so far, and all indication is that Governor Newsom is supportive, and this one should be signed. So really looking forward to seeing some relief come to our compassion folks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so you've heard from Eddie Franco, Legislative Liaison for California Cannabis Industry Association. We appreciate your work again. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Absolutely.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you.